Archangel Michael had been protecting a blessing with your name on it. But the forces against you are growing stronger if you delay opening this. They may get to it first. My treasured soul. Something is shifting around you right now. Something hidden. Something urgent. Something heaven has been guarding with holy intensity. And as soon as you open this message, Archangel Michael stepped forward, his sword blazing with blue fire, because what I'm about to reveal has been fought over in the unseen for a very long time. The title you just read is not poetic language, not a metaphor, not a gentle spiritual nudge. It is a warning. A blessing with your name on it exists, and Michael has been standing in front of it like a divine shield. But the forces rising against you, they are growing stronger, louder, and more desperate, because they know what happens if this blessing reaches you. You're not imagining the recent heaviness. You're not imagining the strange delays, the emotional drain, the sudden resistance in places that used to feel smooth. Every one of those signs is evidence that something major has been getting closer to you. A breakthrough so specific, so divinely timed, that the enemy forces assigned to delay you have now increased their pressure. And yet they still cannot overpower Archangel Michael. He has been whispering to you through dreams, through sudden instincts, through moments when you felt protected for no reason at all. He has been circling your steps, redirecting trouble, locking traps, and removing poisonous people quietly behind the scenes. But tonight, he speaks differently. He steps forward not as a silent guardian, but as a messenger. He says, "The blessing with your name on it is not an ordinary blessing. It is a life-pivoting, timeline-shifting release, something that changes identity, direction, and the sphere of your influence. Something heaven wrote for you before you were even born. Something that was supposed to reach you earlier, but was delayed because you were not yet ready, not aligned, not healed enough to carry it. Now you are. But here is the warning. The delay can no longer continue. The forces assigned to block you are gathering strength because they have sensed that the seal is weakening and the release is near. Think of it like the final moments before a vault door opens. Pressure, noise, the shaking of old structures. What you have been feeling is not chaos. It's spiritual tension. The tension right before something is released into your hands. Michael shows me a vision, a bright sphere of light, hovering behind a barrier that looks thin, almost breakable. On the sphere is written your name, glowing, etched with divine fire, and surrounding it are shadows, forces of confusion, distraction, doubt, delay, manipulation, and spiritual fatigue. They can't touch the blessing, but they are trying to weaken you, because if you're too tired, too distracted, or too discouraged, you won't reach out to receive what is already yours. Michael says, "Tell them the blessing is ready, but their spirit must be awake." He wants you to understand that protection has been strong, but the window is sensitive. There are moments in life where heaven opens a door, and if you walk through it, everything changes. But if you hesitate, the door closes and the season shifts. You are standing at such a door. And Michael keeps emphasizing the blessing is specific. It's not random abundance, random love. Random success is tailored. It carries your spiritual fingerprint. No one else can receive it. No one else can steal it. but they can interfere with your timing if you fall into discouragement or delay. Right now, there is a battle around your name because a destiny-shaping release is trying to break through. This is why you've been feeling spiritually restless. This is why old emotions have resurfaced. This is why out of nowhere you've been sensing that something big is coming without knowing what your spirit already knows. Michael is calling you forward now, closer to alignment, closer to clarity, closer to the next divine step you've been postponing. And he wants you to stay awake because the next shift can happen suddenly. Before we continue, pause for one moment. There's something ahead that you cannot afford to miss. Hold on. What I'm about to share next will sharpen your spirit and reveal why this message reached you at the exact moment it did. Type "I claim what is mine" in the comments if this speaks to your spirit. Blessing code 144 is now active over your path. My cherished one, lean in closely now, because what unfolds here is not simply a continuation of the message. It is the deep unveiling of what Archangel Michael hath been battling on your behalf. When he stepped forward earlier with urgency, it was because your spirit has reached a threshold moment, a moment where clarity becomes weapon, awareness becomes protection, and understanding becomes the very thing that pulls your blessing into the physical world. Michael is showing me that your life has been surrounded by battlefield conditions for far longer than you realized. But the intensity increased recently because you are closer to breakthrough than you have ever been. And the force is rising against you. They are not fighting your present. They are fighting your future. They are fighting what is about to open for you. Michael wants you to understand that much of what you've endured in silence has been spiritual. Even when it looked like ordinary stress or bad luck, the sudden emotional drops, the waves of exhaustion, the loss of motivation, the strange fog that makes simple tasks feel overwhelming, none of that has been random. These are symptoms of interference. Everything in the spiritual world moves with intention. If heaven is moving toward you, so will resistance. But what you must never forget is this: resistance is always the loudest right before release. The closer God brings you to a blessing designed specifically for you, the more aggressively darkness tries to distract you from receiving it. The spiritual realm never stays still, and neither should you. Michael reveals a scene. You standing on a narrow path. On one side is light, steady, constant, flowing like a river. On the other side is shadow, uncertain, shifting, whispering doubt. The blessing with your name on it lies ahead, glowing like a sealed scroll positioned on a pedestal of radiant gold. But between you and the blessing is a stretch of road that feels heavier than usual. The shadows are trying to follow you, not because they have power over you, but because they fear what happens once you touch what is yours. They know that this blessing is not only meant to elevate your life, it is meant to expose their influence and break cycles that have held your lineage for generations. Every blessing with divine assignment carries generational weight. Michael is guarding this one not just because it belongs to you, but because through you it will cleanse what has been attached to your family story for a long time. This blessing is tied to restoration not only for you, but for those connected to you. That is why the opposition has intensified. The enemy does not fight what does not matter, and though the shadows cannot claim your blessing, they can attempt to exhaust you, delay you, or cloud your vision long enough for you to step away from what heaven prepared. But Michael is not backing down. He stands before you with a message burning like fire in the spiritual realm. Rise now. Do not shrink back. You are closer than you think. He wants you to know that your blessing is protected but timed. He is sealed but ready, and timing in the spiritual realm is sensitive. Think of it like a door that opens based on your spiritual readiness, emotional positioning, and willingness to move forward. Heaven will never force you to receive what is yours. It will only make the path clear. You must walk it. The forces gathering against you sense your shift. They sense the awakening happening inside you. They sense your spirit of rising, aligning, strengthening, and their fear is not of your current strength. It is of your potential. The enemy has always been afraid of the moment you realize who you are. When you awaken to your purpose, you become unstoppable. That is the shift happening now. You are awakening to what has always belonged to you. Michael says, the blessing is not simply material. It is encoded with direction, identity, authority, and expansion. It is the kind of blessing that changes how you walk, how you speak, how you see yourself, and how you listen to God's voice. It is wrapped in divine strategy. It will give you clarity in decisions you have struggled with. It will open doors that have felt stuck for years. It will break emotional weights you have carried since childhood. It will realign relationships. It will restore confidence. It will awaken spiritual gifts you did not realize you possessed. This blessing is both a release and a revelation. But here is the truth Michael needs you to accept. You must meet the blessing halfway. Heaven can guard it. Angels can fight for it. But you must remain aligned long enough to receive it. This means choosing clarity over confusion, choosing prayer over fear, choosing consistency over hesitation, choosing faith over emotional storms. Michael does not want you to worry. He wants you to stay awake to the spiritual cues guiding you right now. There is a moment ahead. He keeps showing this, where something seemingly small will shift your path enormously. A message, a decision, an opportunity, a conversation, a 7 inner prompting. A small thing will act like a spiritual turning point. But if you are tired, distracted, or spiritually unfocused, you could overlook it. That is why this message reached you at this exact moment. Heaven is positioning you so you do not miss what is yours. And before we move forward, let me give you this gentle reminder. The next revelation will expose why the forces against you have been desperate and why the blessing has been kept sealed until now. Hold steady. What comes next will bring powerful clarity you've been waiting for. Type by step into alignment in the comments if this resonates with your spirit. Blessing code 333 is now released over your journey. My awakened soul. What I am about to reveal now carries weight in the unseen because Archangel Michael is no longer merely guarding your blessing, he is preparing to transfer it. And this transfer does not happen quietly. It arrives with spiritual ripples, the kind that shift atmospheres, expose hidden intentions, and shake loose anything that has been pretending to belong in your life. Michael keeps showing me a powerful truth. The blessing with your name on it has been stored in a protected chamber for a long time, and its release changes the entire landscape of your journey. This is why the opposition has intensified, not because you are losing ground, but because the ground beneath you is shifting, and whenever heaven prepares to elevate someone, the unseen realm begins to tremble. Michael reveals that many of the strange disruptions you faced recently were actually indicators of spiritual movement. The heaviness you felt in the mornings, the emotional unease you couldn't explain, the friction in relationships that used to feel comfortable, these were not coincidences. They were pressure points created by the forces that sense something approaching you. Darkness can sense breakthrough long before a person does, and it often responds with confusion, this direction and spiritual exhaustion. But here is what Michael wants you to understand. Every wave of resistance confirms that the blessing is real, active, and drawing closer. If there were nothing destined for you, the shadows would not fight you so fiercely. You are walking through a spiritual threshold right now where clarity is essential. Michael keeps showing me an image of a doorway, outlined in gold, shimmering as though it is alive. This doorway represents not a physical place, but a spiritual passage connected to your identity. Through this door lies the blessing that carries your name, the blessing that has been protected with angelic intensity. But the door does not open simply because time has passed. It opens when your spirit reaches alignment with its purpose. And that alignment is forming in you now through your persistence, your growth, your surrender, and your resilience. You are not who you were a year ago, and heaven has taken notice. Michael wants me to tell you something deeply important. The forces that have been gathering against you are not stronger than heaven's protection. They are only louder. Their goal is not to defeat you, but to distract you, to overwhelm your emotions just enough that you hesitate, delay, or pull back at the exact moment you should move forward. Distraction is the enemy's most common tactic when a blessing is close, because distraction weakens readiness, and readiness is the key. The blessing you are approaching requires your spirit to be awake, alert, and willing to act quickly when the moment presents itself. This is why Michael hath been whispering guidance through intuition, dreams, sudden realizations, and unexpected moments of spiritual clarity. You may have noticed lately that certain people have been drifting from your life or shifting their behavior in ways that revealed their true intentions. This is not an accident. When a blessing of destiny approaches, heaven often allows relational clarity to rise to the surface so you do not carry unnecessary weight into your next season. Some people were tied to your past version, not your elevated one. Some connections were seasonal, not lifelong. And some individuals were attached to your weakness, not your strength. Your blessing would expose them, and that exposure would hurt more than their temporary distance. Michael is clearing your atmosphere, making room for the spiritual alignment required for what comes next. He also wants you to understand that there is a divine reason for your recent moments of reflection. Many times you have felt like you were being pulled inward, urged to think, reevaluate, and look at your life from a higher perspective. This internal shift was not emotional overthinking. It was spiritual preparation. Heaven was shaping your perspective to match the magnitude of what is coming. You are being strengthened from the inside out, preparing not only to receive this blessing, but to hold it, protect it, and grow with it. Michael shows me another image, a sealed scroll with golden threads wrapped around it, glowing with your name. This scroll represents a release of strategy, favor, and direction. It contains answers you have prayed for, opportunities you did expect, clarity you have needed, and breakthroughs that have been delayed for too long. The shadows circling it are trying to reach you before the scroll does, not because they can steal your destiny, but because they want to pull your attention away from it. But they will not succeed, not when heaven has already begun to open the seal. Before we continue deeper, pause for a moment. The revelation ahead carries a shift that you cannot afford to overlook. Stay with this message, because what unfolds next will reveal the exact reason the enemy accelerated his attacks and why Archangel Michael is now stepping forward with divine urgency. Hold steady. This journey is entering a powerful turning point. I walk toward my destiny in the comments. If this is speaking to your spirit, blessing code 199 is now active over your path. Now, take a moment to like this message. Share it so others can receive clarity. Comment to anchor it in your spirit. Hype this channel's mission and subscribe so you never miss what heaven releases next. There is a holy urgency resting on this moment, because just as Michael guards the blessing carrying your name, this channel carries a mission to awaken spirits across the world. Every word spoken here becomes a seed sown into lives that feel forgotten, overlooked, or spiritually under attack. And when you choose to support this calling, you are not helping a platform. You are joining heaven in planting light where darkness has tried to settle. The Lord says, "As you pour into my work, I pour into your path." And this promise becomes living truth when your generosity meets divine purpose. I am inviting you now not as a creator, but as one who has been entrusted with this message. Stand with us. Fuel this assignment, and let your giving become a prophetic act that opens your own heavens. Let the oil on this mission flow into every area of your life as you respond in faith. If you feel led, release your support through Super Thanks membership or the PayPal link in the description and watch what God unlocks in return. Step forward now. Spread the light. Activate your obedience. My radiant soul. Breathe deeply for a moment, because the place we are stepping into now is the core of the spiritual battle that has been unfolding around your life. Archangel Michael is bringing forward the hidden layer, the part you were never meant to fight alone, the part heaven chose to handle for you until you were spiritually ready to understand it. He stands beside you now, not as a distant figure, but as a commander who has watched you grow quietly, watched you endure silently, and watched you rise repeatedly, even when no one knew how much it cost you. And now he reveals something that shifts everything. The blessing with your name on it has not only been guarded, it has been contested. Michael shows me a vision of a long corridor, ancient and glowing, carved with markings that represent your spiritual lineage. Along this corridor are doors that correspond to different seasons of your life. Doors of healing, doors of learning, doors of loss, doors of awakening. Each door behind you represents something you overcame, something that shaped your inner strength even when you thought it broke you. But now the last door ahead of you, the one shimmering brighter than all the rest, is the door to the blessing that heaven prepared before your first breath. This is the door that darkness has tried to keep you from reaching. Not because the blessing is fragile or vulnerable, but because the blessing unlocks a version of you that darkness fears. Michael wants you to understand that every shift in your life recently has been part of a divine strategy. The repeated delays you faced were not signs of weakness, but indicators of timing. There were moments where you thought you were waiting for God, but heaven was shaping you. Your patience, your discernment, your resilience, your clarity, your spiritual hearing. The enemy hoped the waiting would wear you down, but instead it sharpened your spirit. Every disappointment became instruction. Every setback became spiritual training. Every closed door prepared you for the one that cannot be closed, and now that door trembles, ready to open. Michael reveals that the forces rising against you have been watching your progress closely. They noticed the shifts in your spirit even before you did. They sense the expansion of your faith, the strengthening of your inner voice, the quiet power forming in your decisions, your prayers, your dreams. The very things that felt like spiritual restlessness were actually signals that your blessing was drawing near. The enemy is not afraid of you losing hope. It is afraid of you realizing that you have already won. Every shadow that tried to cling to your path did so in desperation, because they understood that once this blessing reaches your hands, their influence over you dissolves. This is why old emotions resurfaced recently. This is why past fears tried to crawl back into your mind. This is why familiar insecurities tried to whisper again. They were echoes. Echoes of past seasons trying to stay relevant in the new season rising around you. But Michael says those echoes cannot follow you through the door ahead. The blessing with your name on it demands a new spiritual posture, a new clarity, a new authority. You cannot enter this next chapter carrying what weighed you down in the last. Michael also wants you to understand something profound. This blessing ushers in not just personal elevation but spiritual visibility. Heaven is about to place you in spaces that were once inaccessible to you. Your voice will carry differently. Your presence will shift atmospheres. Your intuition will deepen. Your opportunities will multiply. And this is why the enemy launched a final attempt to make you question yourself. Because if you doubt yourself, you delay your acceptance of what is yours. But Michael stands firm. His sword burns with purpose. He has encircled the blessing with layers of divine fire, ensuring that no force, no spirit of confusion, no whisper of doubt can touch what God has written for you. And yet he reminds you of something essential. Protection secures the blessing, but alignment secures your ability to receive it. This moment in your life requires your full awareness. Your spirit must not sleep. Your faith must not dim. Your readiness must increase. You are walking into a season where hesitation is the enemy and clarity is the key. Michael shows me a powerful image. You standing before the glowing door, and in your hands is a small flame. That flame represents your awareness, your intention, your willingness to step forward. As you move closer to the door, the flame grows brighter. It responds to your readiness. It responds to your belief. It responds to your courage. The door does not open with force. It opens with alignment, and the flame in your hands is what activates that alignment. This is why heaven brought this message to you now. Not earlier, not later. Your spirit is ready. Your journey is aligned. Your blessing is ripe, and your enemies are out of time. But before we move forward into the deeper revelation of what this blessing actually contains, pause for a moment. What comes next will unveil the exact reason this blessing required angelic protection and why the forces against you have increased in these final moments. Stay here. This is where the truth begins to break open. Type "I rise" into my purpose in the comments if this resonates with your spirit. Blessing code 221 is now activated over your path. My courageous soul. Steady yourself now, because what Archangel Michael brings into focus at this stage is not merely an update or another layer of encouragement. It is the unveiling of the deepest truth behind the blessing that has been hidden, guarded, and fiercely protected with a level of heavenly intensity you have rarely encountered in your life. Michael stands beside you with a clarity so sharp it feels like the air shifts around his presence. He wants you to understand what you are truly approaching, why the forces against you have grown bolder, and why heaven has chosen this exact moment to open your eyes fully. There is a sacred reason why you were guided here, why you felt drawn to this message, and why your spirit has been preparing itself even during times when you felt tired, confused, or spiritually distant. Everything has been leading you to this revelation. Michael reveals that the blessing carrying your name is not simply a reward or a gift. It is an unlocking, a key, a divine activation that connects to parts of your destiny you have not yet walked in. He shows me a vision of you standing before a brilliant orb, and inside this orb is a multitude of threads, each representing an area of your life that has been limited, held back, or put on pause. Some threads are connected to finances, some to relationships, some to purpose, some to healing, some to opportunities you have long prayed for. This blessing is not one thread. It is the weaving together of all of them at once. It is the merging of alignment, timing, divine favor, spiritual clarity, emotional strength, and heaven-backed acceleration. This is why darkness pushed harder in recent months. You were getting too close to a moment that would unravel everything the enemy tried to build against you. Michael wants you to understand something critically important. The forces that have been rising are not stronger than you. They are reacting to you. They are responding to your awakening. They are attempting to distract you because they cannot defeat you. Their strategy has always been intimidation, not power; confusion, not control; delay, not dominance. The enemy has never been afraid of your struggles. It has always been terrified of your clarity, because once you gain clarity, you become unstoppable. And the clarity you are receiving now is the very clarity the enemy hoped you would never reach. Michael shows me another image, a dark cloud hovering around your past. This cloud represents old wounds, old voices, old fears, old failures, old memories that tried to define you. For so long, this cloud attempted to convince you that your story was limited, that your future was uncertain, that you were too broken, too tired, too late, too flawed to receive anything great. But now something extraordinary is happening. The moment you reached this message, the cloud began to thin, not because of emotion or motivation, but because truth dissolves lies. And Michael is releasing truth in your life right now like a flood. He says, this blessing is not coming to fix you. You do not need fixing. It is coming to reveal who you actually are beneath everything you endured. Your identity was never tied to the wounds of your past. It was tied to the purpose in your spirit. And Michael whispers that heaven has always seen your strength, even on the days you felt weak. Heaven saw your endurance even when no one thanked you. Heaven saw your attempts to hold yourself together, even when life felt heavy. Heaven saw you pushing through cycles that tried to break you. And now heaven is honoring your persistence with a blessing that reflects not where you were but where you are going. Michael also reveals that the blessing includes people who will speak life into you, not drain you. People who will support your calling, not question it. People who will walk with you, not pull you back. Some of the relational struggles you faced recently were heaven's way of separating you from energy that could not survive where you are going. Your circle is being purified, not because you are difficult to love, but because your future requires alignment, not attachment. There is another layer to this blessing. Michael shows me that it also includes protection, long-term, deeply rooted, generational protection. Patterns that ran through your family line are breaking in your presence. Cycles that harm those before you will not follow those after you. Your blessing ends something that needed to end and begins something that needed to begin. You were chosen for this shift. You were equipped for this season. Your spirit carries authority that you are just beginning to recognize. Michael wants you to know that the blessing is not being delayed anymore. There were seasons where timing was not aligned, where your heart was healing, where your mind was growing, where you were learning lessons that would become foundations for the chapter ahead. But now those seasons have merged. You are stepping into the moment where your preparation meets your promise. The blessing is approaching swiftly. Michael is preparing its release, and nothing standing against you has the power to stop what God has already declared. Before we continue, hold this truth close. The next revelation will show you exactly what happens in the spiritual realm the moment heaven decides to release your blessing. Stay close, because this next unfolding will ignite your understanding in a way that shifts your entire perspective. Type "I receive my divine unlocking" in the comments if your spirit is ready. Lesson code 44 is now active over your path. My rising soul. What unfolds now is not simply another step in the message, but the moment where Archangel Michael begins to expose what has been happening in the spiritual realm. Each time heaven prepared to release something significant into your life, you have walked through many seasons where something felt close, where you sensed breakthrough, where you felt a stirring that you could not describe, only for circumstances to shift unexpectedly and delay what you believed was coming. As moments were not imagination, nor were they emotional misinterpretations. They were spiritual movements, real, tangible, and powerful. But behind those movements was a war you were not meant to see until now. Michael stands with you in this moment because you are ready to understand why those seasons unfolded the way they did, why certain things felt blocked, and why the blessing carrying your name requires such immense protection. Michael reveals a vision of the spiritual realm that looks like a vast battlefield, but instead of chaos, it moves with precision, order, and divine structure. Heaven does not react. Heaven anticipates every time a blessing is prepared for release. Heaven positions angels, aligns circumstances, adjusts timelines, and arranges divine connection so that nothing interferes. But darkness also senses movement, not clearly, not fully, but enough to recognize when something of high spiritual value is approaching a chosen soul. So when heaven begins to move on your behalf, darkness begins to move as well. It launches disruptions, distractions, emotional storms, and mental exhaustion in an attempt to distort your awareness. Not because it can stop what heaven has released, but because it hopes to disrupt your posture just long enough to cause hesitation. This is why in many past seasons you felt a wave of heaviness right before something good was supposed to happen. It was not the blessing that pulled away from you. It was the enemy attempting to pull you away from the blessing. Michael wants you to understand the pattern fully, because once you see it, you will never misinterpret it again. The heaviness was a sign that the blessing was near. The confusion was a sign that clarity was about to break through. The unexpected resistance was a sign that doors were aligning behind the scenes. The emotional fatigue was proof that the spiritual realm was shifting. But now, heaven is no longer asking you to endure these signs blindly. You are being given insight so you can recognize the pattern, rise above the interference, and walk into this blessing with unwavering resolve. Michael shows me that every time your blessing was being prepared for release, specific forces would gather around your spirit. These forces did not have access to the blessing itself, but they did have access to the spaces around your life where you were emotionally vulnerable. They targeted your energy. They targeted your confidence. They targeted your belief in yourself. They targeted your relationships. They targeted your sense of direction, because if they could weaken you even temporarily, they could cause you to doubt the path ahead. Doubt leads to hesitation. Hesitation leads to delay. And delay can shift timing. But even then, Kevin did not abandon you. Every time darkness rose against you, Michael covered what belonged to you. Every time discouragement tried to settle, heaven shielded your blessing. And every time you felt close to giving up, something within you kept pushing forward. That inner strength was not an accident. It was angelic reinforcement whispering, "Hold on. You are closer than you think." Michael reveals that the spiritual realm operates on laws that are far more intricate than what humans perceive. One of those laws is timing, divine timing. When the appointed time draws near, heaven intensifies its movements and the enemy intensifies its distractions. But this time, the timing is not shifting away from you. It is shifting toward you. The blessing carrying your name has reached its moment of release. Heaven has evaluated your growth, your endurance, your transformation, and your spiritual posture. You are aligned. You are prepared. You are strengthened. You are awakened enough to receive what once would have overwhelmed you. And, most importantly, you are no longer influenced by the same shadows that once held power over your path. Michael wants you to understand that every spiritual battle you survived was training for this exact season. You did not walk through those trials without purpose. They sharpened your discernment, refined your intuition, and taught you how to hear your inner guidance even through confusion. They taught you what peace feels like, what chaos feels like, and how to tell the difference. They taught you how to separate divine alignment from emotional impulse. They built resilience in you that the enemy hoped you would never discover. And now that resilience is the key that unlocks the final stage of your blessing, the forces that once intimidated you no longer hold authority over you. Their power relied on your spiritual unawareness. But now awareness has entered your life like a second awakening. You are not easily manipulated anymore. You are not easily distracted anymore. You are not easily shaken anymore. And this shift terrifies the enemy, because once you understand your own spiritual strength, you become a force that darkness cannot influence. Michael says the blessing being released in your life now is too significant to be carried by someone who doubts themselves. You are being prepared to receive it with boldness, confidence, and a renewed sense of who you are in the eyes of heaven. You are stepping into a moment where spiritual interference cannot follow you. The shadows that tried to hold you down will not cross this threshold. And the internal strength rising within you now is a sign that heaven is placing the final pieces into alignment. Before we enter the next revelation, where Michael shows what happens the moment the blessing reaches your hands, stay with this message. What unfolds next will shift your understanding of your purpose and bring clarity that has been waiting for you for years. Type "I stand in my awakening" in the comments if this speaks to your spirit. Blessing code 717 is now active over your path. My steadfast soul. Take in a deep breath, because where we are stepping now is the moment Archangel Michael has been preparing you for since the very beginning of this message. Up to this point, he has revealed the atmosphere around your blessing, the forces resisting your advancement, the pattern of spiritual warfare that has followed you, and the divine alignment that has been forming slowly and steadily through every season of your life. But now he brings forward the revelation of what happens in the spiritual realm. The moment your blessing finally reaches the edge of manifestation, this is not a sabbatical moment. This is not emotional language. This is a literal spiritual event that unfolds with precision, intention, and divine authority. And your spirit is ready to receive it. Michael shows me a scene unlike anything before. The blessing with your name on it, once held in a sealed chamber of light, has now moved into what looks like an activation zone in the spiritual realm. This place is filled with a radiant hum, like the air itself is vibrating with purpose. It is the realm where heaven prepares to release spiritual promises into the physical world. Your blessing has been carried here because the time has shifted. The moment has arrived, and what happens in this realm determines how your blessing enters your life, how quickly it unfolds, and how powerfully it transforms the path ahead. Michael explains that when a blessing reaches this point, three things occur simultaneously. The first is illumination. Heaven shines a spotlight on the blessing, not for angels to see it, but for your spirit to sense it. This is why lately you have felt a strange sense of expectation. Even if your circumstances have not changed, something deep inside you has been whispering that something is coming, even if your mind could not articulate it. That whisper was the spiritual illumination of your blessing. Your spirit sensed light before your eyes could see it. The second thing that happens is separation. When a blessing reaches the edge of release, heaven begins to separate you from anything that could contaminate or weaken your ability to receive it. Old frustrations surface. Old emotions come up. Old attachments fall away. People who no longer align with your next season drift from your life. Patterns you once accepted suddenly become intolerable. This is not chaos. This is cleansing. You may have wondered why certain areas of your life have been shifting unexpectedly. Why certain conversations felt tense. Why certain doors close abruptly. It was heaven clearing the space around you so the blessing could land in purified soil. The third thing that happens, and this is the part Michael wants you to feel deeply, is acceleration. The enemy tries to slow you down, but heaven begins to speed you up. You may feel moments of sudden clarity, sudden motivation, sudden strength, sudden emotional release, sudden insight, sudden redirection. These are not random waves. These are spiritual pushes, divine nudges, exhilaration points. Heaven is aligning you quickly because the blessing is ready for you now, not later. Divine timing has reached its fullness. What once felt delayed is shifting into motion. What once felt distant is drawing near. What once felt unclear is becoming understandable. Heaven has begun to move swiftly. Michael reveals that as this acceleration begins, darkness attempts one final interference. Not because it believes it can win, but because it is desperate. The enemy tries to flood your mind with doubt, your heart with fear, your body with fatigue. It tries to whisper that you are unworthy, that you are late, that you are forgotten, that nothing is changing. But Michael stands between you and those whispers. Sword drawn, wings outstretched, his expression fierce with holy determination. He is not only guarding your blessing, he is guarding your mind. He is guarding your peace. He is guarding your alignment, because the enemy no longer has access to what belongs to you. The only thing left to attack is your perception. Michael leans closer now, and his message becomes even more direct. The blessing with your name on it is entering its release stage. You are stepping into the moment where heaven transfers what was once stored in the spiritual realm into the physical realm of your life. This is why your intuition has sharpened. This is why your inner voice has grown louder. This is why your dreams have shifted. This is why you feel something moving beneath the surface. Your blessing is no longer waiting for you. It is coming toward you. He also reveals that this blessing will arrive in multiple layers, not all at once, but in waves. Each wave preparing you for the next. The first wave brings clarity. The second brings opportunity. The third brings manifestation. And the fourth brings expansion. And this is the part the enemy fears most. Once the first wave reaches you, nothing in darkness can stop the rest from following. The blessing becomes a chain reaction, a spiritual domino effect that unfolds with unstoppable momentum. And Michael is ensuring that nothing delays that momentum again. He reminds you that alignment is still essential. Your awareness, your openness, your willingness to move forward. All of these act like spiritual magnets pulling the blessing closer. The more you lean into your awakening, the faster the blessing moves. The more you trust the unfolding, the clearer the path becomes. You are not chasing the blessing anymore. It is coming to you, and heaven is determined to make sure you receive it. Before we proceed, hold on to this truth. The next revelation will show exactly how this blessing will alter the direction of your life once it arrives. Stay with this message because the shift ahead is powerful and deeply personal. Type "I am ready for release" in the comments if your spirit receives this. Blessing code 515 is now activated over your journey, my beloved soul. What we are stepping into now is the moment where Archangel Michael begins to reveal not just the atmosphere of your blessing, not just the warfare surrounding it, but the exact ways your life will shift once this blessing enters your physical reality. Until now, you have been shown the alignment, the battle, the resistance, the timing, and the spiritual tension surrounding your name. But Michael lifts the veil even further and shows that this blessing is not simply something you will receive. It is something that will transform you, reposition you, and reroute the course of your destiny in ways you could not fully imagine before today. Heaven is not preparing you for a minor change. Heaven is preparing you for a life-altering transition. Michael begins by showing me a powerful image. You standing on a landscape that looks like both the end of one world and the beginning of another. Behind you is a terrain marked by lessons, losses, disruptions, closed doors, and long seasons of waiting. Ahead of you is a bright expanse, glowing with paths you have never walked, doors you have never opened, opportunities you have never imagined, and spiritual clarity you have never accessed. The blessing nearing you is not meant to repair the old terrain behind you. It is meant to pull you forward into the new one. And everything heaven has been orchestrating is preparing you to step through the dividing line between what was and what will be. Michael reveals that one of the first things this blessing will shift is your identity. Not who you are at your core, but who you believe yourself to be. For too long, your identity has been shaped by survival, shaped by hurt, shaped by responsibilities you did not choose, shaped by circumstances that were never meant to define you. You became strong in places where you were meant to be supported. You became silent in places where you were meant to be heard. You became cautious in places where you were meant to walk boldly. This blessing restores the version of you that life tried to bury. It reawakens your divine identity, the identity that sees yourself the way heaven sees you. The moment this blessing lands, you will feel a shift in how you think, how you speak, how you carry yourself, how you make decisions. You will no longer shrink to match the room. You will rise to match your calling. Michael shows that the next shift this blessing creates is directional. There are choices ahead, major ones that will determine the trajectory of the next chapter of your life. For months, maybe even years, you have felt stuck at crossroads, sensing possibilities, but not knowing which path to take. This blessing comes with divine clarity. It will illuminate the right path so clearly that confusion will lose its grip. Doors that are not meant for you will close so firmly you will feel relieved instead of disappointed. Doors that are aligned will open with undeniable grace. You will know where to go. You will know what to do. You will know what to release and what to embrace. This blessing becomes the compass for your next season. Then Michael reveals another layer. This blessing will shift the atmosphere around your relationships. Notice how in recent months certain people have pulled away. Certain conversations have faded, and certain bonds have loosened. This was not rejection, it was purification. Your blessing requires people who can walk with you, not hold you down. People who can see your calling, not compete with it. People who can love you deeply, not drain you silently. Heaven is removing the noise from your circle so that when this blessing arrives, you will be surrounded only by those who can grow with you. New connections are coming. Connections that elevate you, empower you, motivate you, and align with your higher purpose. Michael also shows that this blessing carries momentum. It will not enter your life quietly. It will not arrive in isolation. It will arrive like a wave bringing improvements, opportunities, revelations and breakthroughs in multiple areas at once. Suddenly your finances will shift. Suddenly your ideas will expand. Suddenly your confidence will increase. Suddenly your creativity will rise. Suddenly your peace will deepen. Suddenly you will feel an inner knowing that your life is finally aligning with the truth written about you. This blessing pushes everything forward at a speed that may even surprise you. The stagnation you endured for years will be replaced by acceleration. What once months will take days. What once felt impossible will feel natural. What once with delay will suddenly move with ease. Michael adds that this blessing will also break a pattern that has repeated in your life for too long. A pattern of almost breakthroughs, almost opportunities, almost relationships, almost stability, almost clarity. The blessing ends the cycle of almost. It shifts you from nearly to fully, from close to completion, from waiting to receiving. This is why the enemy fought so hard, because once this pattern breaks, you will no longer return to old cycles. Your timeline will restructure itself. Your path will open. Your energy will rise. Your spirit will settle into its true identity. And now Michael brings a final revelation. This blessing is not entering your life quietly, because heaven intends for your life to carry impact. You are not being elevated only for yourself. You are being elevated because there are people whose healing, growth, inspiration, and direction will be influenced by your rising. You are stepping into a chapter where your life becomes a vessel for purpose, and that purpose carries weight in the spiritual realm. Before we move forward, stay present. The next revelation will show how heaven prepares your heart to handle the magnitude of this blessing so nothing overwhelms you. Hold steady, Something powerful is coming. Type, "I accept my transformation" in the comments to anchor this word in your spirit. Blessing code 818 is now activated. Now take a moment to like, share, comment, hype this message, and subscribe so you never miss the next release. Heaven brings through this space. There is a divine stirring happening right now, and your engagement in this mission carries spiritual weight. Just as Michael guards the blessing with your name, this channel carries a call to awaken hearts that feel weary, lost, or spiritually attacked. When you choose to support this mission, you are not helping a creator. You are empowering a movement of light that pushes back against the darkness trying to silence souls. God says, "As you sow into my work, I multiply what rests in your hands, and this word is alive for you in this moment. I invite you, not as an instruction, but as a divine nudge to step into partnership with Heaven's purpose by releasing your support through Super Thanks membership or the PayPal link in the description. Your act becomes a prophetic seed, opening doors that were once sealed. Blessings rise on the path of every giver. Step into that flow now, my enduring soul. Prepare yourself now, because what Archangel Michael begins to reveal in this chapter is the inner transformation required for the magnitude of the blessing coming toward you. Until now, you have been shown the spiritual landscape around you, the warfare that surrounded your life, the alignment that has been taking shape beneath the surface, and the profound shift that this blessing will create once it arrives. But now heaven turns inward toward your heart, your spirit, your emotional foundation, and the parts of you that must expand in order to hold what is being released. For a blessing of this magnitude does not simply arrive, it reshapes you. And Michael wants you prepared, steady, and spiritually anchored, so the blessing does not overwhelm you, confuse you, or slip through your grasp because old emotions rise too quickly. Michael shows me a vision of your heart, glowing like a vessel, but this vessel has tiny cracks, thin lines created by old wounds, past disappointments, broken trust, pain you carried alone, burdens you never spoke about, and chapters that left marks even after time passed. The cracks do not mean you are weak. They mean you are human. They mean you have lived. They mean you have survived. But now heaven is pouring something new into this vessel, and the vessel must be strengthened so it does not leak under the pressure of blessing. Michael makes it clear blessings can be heavy, but heavy in sorrow, but heavy responsibility, heavy in expansion, heavy in growth, heavy in identity. You must be internally fortified so the blessing can sit securely in your spirit. He begins to show the healing that is already taking place in you. Some of this healing you recognized. Some of it you didn't. The nights when you felt suddenly emotional, the moments when you cried without knowing why, the days when you felt called to be alone, the sudden revisiting of old memories. None of these were random. They were part of the strengthening. Heaven was moving through your emotional layers, gently but firmly releasing blockages you weren't aware of, lifting heaviness that lingered too long, softening areas that hardened out of necessity. You have been healing even when you thought you were breaking. Michael wants you to understand that the release of emotion was not weakness. It was preparation. A blessing cannot settle in a heart full of unspoken wounds. So heaven began the quiet work of cleansing you from the inside out. Michael reveals that one of the deepest transformations happening in you now is the restoration of trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in God. Trust in your intuition. Trust in the quiet, knowing inside you that has guided you, even when your circumstances did not make sense. In past seasons, your trust was betrayed. Sometimes by people, sometimes by situations, sometimes by unpredictability, sometimes even by your own expectations. And that betrayal planted seeds of caution within you became predion. Protection became distance. Distance became emotional silence. And though you continued to move forward, part of you remained guarded, unwilling to fully open your heart to the possibility that something good could stay, something pure could endure, something divine could flourish. But this blessing requires trust, not blind trust, not naive trust, sacred trust, the kind of trust that grows from spiritual maturity, from inner knowing, from experience, and from alignment. Michael has been restoring this trust slowly, layer by layer, teaching you to listen to your intuition again, reminding you of moments when heaven protected you, strengthening your ability to discern truth from illusion. The blessing coming your way will require you to trust that you are not walking into disappointment, but into a divine appointment, and your spirit is finally reaching that place. Another transformation Michael reveals is courage, not the loud kind of courage, not the dramatic kind, the quiet courage that sits inside your bones, the kind that makes you choose yourself even when others don't understand, the kind that lets you walk away from situations that no longer honor your spirit, the kind that lets you rise even when you feel tired, the kind that lets you open doors you once feared. Courage has been forming in you, not through ease but through endurance. Every challenge you survived added a layer to this courage, and now it is strong enough to carry a blessing that elevates your entire life. Michael also shows that this blessing will require a shift in your mindset, not a sudden overhaul, but an expansion. Because the door you are approaching is wide and small, thinking cannot pass through it. You must step into a version of yourself that sees possibility where old wounds once whispered limitation. You must be able to believe that stability is not temporary, that blessings are not fragile, that opportunities are not tricks, that your rising is not a coincidence. The mindset that once protected you by expecting little must transform into a mindset that allows you to receive much. Heaven is rewiring your internal expectation so you do not sabotage what is meant to grow. Michael brings attention now to another deeply personal transformation, the strengthening of your emotional boundaries. In past seasons, you gave too much, cared too deeply, bent too far, and carried weights that did not belong to you. This blessing cannot be poured into a life where boundaries leak. So, heaven has been teaching you how to say no without guilt, how to protect your peace without explanation, how to trust your energy, how to recognize emotional manipulation, and how to walk away from anything that tries to drain the strength heaven is building in you. This is not bitterness. This is spiritual maturity. This is identity. This is self-preservation led by divine wisdom. Michael wants you to understand that once this blessing arrives, many things will accelerate your opportunities, your clarity, your connections, your expansion. But none of it can overwhelm you because you will be grounded, centered, spiritually anchored and emotionally steady. The internal work heaven has done in you is not for your past, is for your future. You are becoming someone who can hold blessing without collapsing under its weight. Someone who can walk into new spaces without shrieking. someone who can rise without fear of falling, someone who can receive without questioning their worthiness. Before we step into the next stage, where Michael reveals how heaven positions your external world for this blessing, to stay present. What comes next will open your eyes to the shift you are about to see around you in the physical realm. Type, "I prepare my heart" in the comments to anchor this message in your spirit. Blessing code 66 is now activated over your journey. My destined soul. Breathe slowly and open your spirit, because what Archangel Michael unveils now is the shift that is about to occur not only inside you but around you. Up to this point, heaven has been working deeply within your heart, healing fractures, strengthening boundaries, restoring trust, and preparing you for the magnitude of the blessing moving toward your life. But now, Michael turns your attention outward to the physical realm, to the world around you, to the environment that will soon transform to match the new spiritual level you are stepping into. For when a blessing of divine assignment gets ready to enter someone's life, heaven does not only prepare the person, it prepares the world around them. And this preparation, though subtle at times, becomes unmistakable once your spirit knows what to look for. Michael begins to show a vision of your surroundings, but in a layered way. In the first layer, he shows your current environment, the places you frequent, the people you interact with, the situations you find yourself navigating. Some of these elements look dim, almost faded, as though they no longer carry energy meant for you. Others glow faintly, representing alignment, potential, and divine purpose. Michael points to the dim areas and explains that these are spaces heaven is beginning to withdraw you from. They are not harmful or dangerous, but they are no longer aligned with the elevated path ahead. Some environments that once felt comfortable will begin to feel constricting. Some routines that once felt normal will feel outdated. Some conversations will feel draining instead of inspiring. You may begin to lose interest in places or activities that once felt familiar. This is not boredom. It is spiritual transition. Your external world is beginning to shed layers that do not match where you are going. Michael then shifts the vision to the second layer, people. He shows that some individuals in your life will begin to shift energetically, not because they are bad or wrong, but because they were assigned to a previous chapter of your journey. Every soul that enters your life carries spiritual timing. Some are meant to walk with you forever, others only for a season. You are entering a phase where heaven will make these distinctions clear. People who cannot grow with you will naturally distance. People whose energy weighs you down will fade. People who rely on your strength but offer no support in return will drift. This is not rejection, it is relocation. Heaven is creating space for people who can honor your elevation, not resent it. People who can support your growth, not compete with it. People who can walk beside you, not pull you backward. Your circle will shrink and then expand, first through clearing, then through divine replacement. Michael brings your attention next to the third layer, opportunities. You will begin to notice that some opportunities suddenly stop working. Plans break. Commitments shift, projects end. Paths you once considered safe or certain will no longer move forward. But at the same time, new opportunities will begin to surface quietly at first, then more clearly. These new opportunities will carry a sense of peace. Even if they feel unfamiliar, they will align with your intuition. They will feel like open doors rather than forced ones. Heaven is reordering your external life so your blessing does not land in a space that cannot sustain it. These changes may feel abrupt, but they are actually a form of divine protection. Heaven is removing false openings so you do not get distracted from the real ones. Michael now reveals the fourth layer, timing. You will begin to notice that certain things that once felt slow will suddenly accelerate. Conversations that dragged on will conclude. Delays that frustrated you will settle. Circumstances that felt locked will begin to shift. This is because heaven is synchronizing your external world with your internal readiness. When the inner transformation is complete, the outer world begins to move. For years, you were prepared internally while your environment remains static. But now, the two are merging. Heaven is pulling your external life into alignment, so there is no gap between your readiness and your manifestation. He then shows the fifth layer, spiritual atmosphere. This is the most important external shift. You may begin to feel different when you wake up, as though the air around you has changed. You may notice that your intuition becomes sharper. Your dreams become more vivid. Your sensitivity increases. Your awareness heightens. And your spiritual clarity becomes undeniable. You may catch yourself feeling moments of peace that seem to come from nowhere, or bursts of confidence, or sudden excitement, or unexpected calm. These are not mood swings. These are spiritual indicators. They signal that your environment is being elevated, so it can hold the energy of the blessing entering your life. Michael explains that one of the most powerful signs that your blessing is near is disruption, followed by alignment. First things shake, then things settle. First things detach, then things connected. First things fall away, then things fall into place. You are entering the settling stage. Now the shaking has done its work. What remains will be rooted. What leaves will be replaced. What shifts will make sense later. Heaven is building a foundation around you strong enough to hold the next chapter of your destiny. Then Michael brings forth another profound truth. Your external world is being prepared not just for blessing but for expansion. Expansion requires space. Space requires clearing. Clearing requires disruption. Disruption requires trust. And trust requires understanding. This is why heaven is showing you these changes now, so that when your environment begins to shift in unusual ways, you will not fear it. You will recognize it as divine alignment. You will understand that nothing is falling apart. Everything is falling into place. Michael ends this revelation with a message thick with authority. Your blessing is not entering a chaotic world. It is entering a world heaven is restructuring for you. And this restructuring is happening at this very moment, before we step forward into the next revelation, where Michael reveals the exact spiritual signature of your blessing. Stay present. What comes next will bring clarity on why this blessing belongs to you and no one else. Type "I align with my next level" in the comments to anchor this message. Blessing code 999 is now activated over your journey. My chosen soul. Settle your spirit now, because what Archangel Michael unveils in this chapter is among the most sacred, the most intimate, and the most powerful revelations you will receive in this entire message. You have seen the battle around your blessing, the preparation within your spirit, and the restructuring of your external world. But now Michael steps closer, not as a distant guardian, but as a divine messenger, carrying the very essence of what belongs to you. He calls this the spiritual signature of your blessing, not the appearance, not the timing, not the shape, but the identity. The reason heaven crafted this blessing for you and no one else. And once you understand the signature of your blessing, you will never again question why you had to walk through what you walked through to reach this moment. Michael begins by revealing that every soul has a heavenly blueprint, a kind of spiritual DNA that carries purpose, calling, gifts, strengths, sensitivities, and assignments. Your blessing is not random, it is not generic. It was created based on your blueprint. This is why no one else can receive it. Even if someone tried to take it, it would not align with their spirit. It would not fit their life. It would not resonate with their path. Your blessing carries the imprint of your journey, the echo of your prayers, the energy of your endurance, and the design of your destiny. Michael shows me a vision of this blessing glowing with a distinct vibration, gentle but powerful, humble but radiant, soft but unstoppable. It matches your spirit the way a key matches a lock. He reveals that the first signature of your blessing is restoration, not ordinary restoration, deep restoration. Restoration of the self you lost when life wounded you. Restoration of confidence you once held with ease. Restoration of purpose that was dimmed by disappointment. Restoration of beliefs that were shaken by betrayal. Restoration of identity that was reshaped by survival. Your blessing carries the power to return what was taken from you, but not in the same form. Heaven never restores you to where you were. It restores you to where you were always meant to be. This blessing holds pieces of yourself you thought were gone forever. When it arrives, parts of you will awaken that you forgot existed. Parts of you that once felt distant will feel familiar again. This restoration is not emotional nostalgia. It is divine returning. Michael then reveals the second signature elevation, the kind of elevation that cannot be forced, imitated, or manufactured. This elevation lifts your voice, your influence, your confidence, your insight, your purpose, your opportunities, and your authority. It places you in rooms where your presence carries weight. It gives you access to paths you once thought were out of reach. This elevation is not about superiority, it is about positioning. You are being positioned to fulfill your calling in a way that aligns with heaven's design. And Michael emphasizes that you are not being elevated for personal gain. You are being elevated because your elevation will impact others. Your rise will inspire healing. Your clarity will create change. Your strength will break generational patterns. Your journey will awaken those around you. The third signature Michael reveals is protection. Your blessing comes wrapped in spiritual shielding that will keep you safe in places you once felt vulnerable. This protection is not only physical, it is emotional, mental, relational, and spiritual. It prevents you from returning to cycles that drained your spirit. It blocks energies that once destabilized you. It guards you from people whose intentions do not match their words. It shields your progress from interference. This protection is not a temporary season. It is a permanent shift. Once this blessing enters your life, the level of spiritual protection around you intensifies. You will feel it. You will sense it. You will walk differently because of it. The fourth signature is direction. This blessing carries guidance, not vague intuition, but clear paths. Heaven is aligning your steps so precisely that the wrong turns of your past will not repeat. You will feel pulled toward the right opportunities, pushed away from the wrong ones. and positioned in moments that change your trajectory. Decisions that once kept you stuck will suddenly feel simple. Choices that once overwhelmed you will become obvious. You will know where to go. You will know what feels aligned. You will know when something is divine timing rather than emotional impulse. This blessing activates an internal compass that always points you toward your highest path. Michael then reveals the fifth signature: expansion. You have been living in reduced space for too long emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and even in your environment. This blessing expands your life. It expands your resources. It expands your thinking. It expands your opportunities. It expands your environment. Expansion can be uncomfortable at first because it stretches you. But this stretching is not stress. It is growth. Heaven is enlarging the territory of your life so you can step into the fullness of who you are becoming. The sixth signature is clarity. This blessing brings clarity to questions that have followed you for years. Why certain things ended, why certain people left, why certain doors closed, why certain delays happened, why certain situations felt unbearable. He shows me a vision of fog lifting from a landscape. As the fog rises, paths that were hidden become visible. You will see the purpose behind past pain. You will understand the timing of your journey. You will recognize that what once felt like destruction was actually redirection. Clarity is coming in waves, and it will bring peace to places where you once felt confusion. Michael brings the seventh signature with a tenderness that feels almost like a whisper: healing. This blessing carries healing of the heart in ways you cannot currently imagine. Healing of trust. I hope. Healing of self-worth. Healing of old emotional wounds that never fully closed. Healing of self-laying, self-doubt, and silent battles you fought alone. You are not stepping into blessing with broken pieces. You are stepping into blessing with completion. And finally, Michael reveals the eighth signature: divine timing. This blessing is arriving not a minute too late, not a moment too early, but at the exact time when your spirit is strong, your mind is ready, your heart is open, and your path is aligned. Everything you endured prepared you for the weight of this blessing. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was random. Nothing was meaningless. Heaven was shaping you for this. Before we step into the final chapter where the blessing is fully released, anchor yourself. What comes next is the culmination of everything heaven hath been building around you. Type, "I receive my signature blessing" in the comments to align your spirit. Blessing code 303 is now active over your journey. My beloved and ascending soul, breathe gently and open yourself fully now. Because what Archangel Michael releases in this final chapter is the culmination of everything heaven has been building, guarding, preparing, and positioning in your life. You have journeyed through revelation after revelation, layer after layer of spiritual truth, until now, this sacred moment where the blessing carrying your name steps out of the realm of preparation and into the realm of manifestation. Michael stands before you not in warning, not in urgency, but in triumph. His sword no longer burns only with defense, but with completion. He has fought for this. You have endured for this. Heaven has aligned for this. And now the blessing long protected is ready to be released into your hands. Michael begins by showing a breathtaking vision. A chamber of radiant light, brighter than the earlier visions, yet warmer, almost welcoming. Inside this chamber floats the blessing with your name engraved across its surface. a name written not in ink, but in divine fire. The blessing glows with a fullness that feels alive, as though it has been waiting for you, with the same anticipation that you have carried for your breakthrough. Michael steps forward and places his hand upon this blessing. The moment he touches it, the chamber expands and the light intensifies. He turns toward you and speaks with a calm authority. It is time. He explains that everything heaven has revealed up to this point, the warfare, the purification, the preparation, the transformation, the external shifting, the internal strengthening and the revealing of the blessing signature was leading to this moment of release. The blessing is no longer protected behind a barrier. It is now being placed into the stream of your timeline where nothing can intercept it. Nothing can reroute it, and nothing can claim it. Its release has been authorized by heaven. Its course has been set, and its arrival is inevitable. Michael shows that the release of your blessing triggers 3 simultaneous movements in your life. The first is activation. He describes this as a sudden, undeniable shift inside you, a feeling of being spiritually awake, emotionally ready, and mentally prepared. This activation aligns your energy with the blessing's frequency. You may feel moments of insight, courage, or calm that appear unexpectedly. These moments are not coincidences. They are signals that your blessing is now active in the spiritual realm and moving toward you. The second movement is alignment. Yours begin to shift to accommodate what is coming. People who need to support your next chapter begin to find their way toward you. Opportunities that match your signature blessing begin to position themselves. Conversations occur that steer you into new direction. Resources flow into your life through channels you did not anticipate. This alignment may not always appear dramatic, but it will be unmistakably divine. Paths that were blocked will open. Paths that were wrong will close firmly. Paths that were hidden will reveal themselves as though illuminated. The third movement is acceleration. Once a blessing enters the stream of manifestation, heaven compresses time around it. Things that once took years may now take months. Decisions that once felt overwhelming may become clear within days. Delays that once held you still will be replaced by rapid forward motion. Michael wants you to understand that once acceleration begins, you must walk with it. Not with fear, but with trust. Not with hesitation, but with readiness. The speed of this next season is not meant to overwhelm you. It is meant to fulfill you. Michael then reveals something deeply personal. The blessing coming to you is layered, complex, and powerful. It is not a single event. It is not a single change. It is a series of divine movements designed to shape your next chapter. Some layers of the blessing will come quietly, like peace settling in your heart. Others will come boldly, like opportunities knocking loudly at your door. Some will come through people. Others through inset, others through divine redirection. But all will come with clarity. He explains that this blessing is not only meant to transform your circumstances, it is meant to transform your life. It will elevate the way you see yourself, the way you navigate challenges, and the way you interpret your path. It will bring closure to wounds that were never properly healed. It will bring understanding to questions that haunted you. It will bring strength to places that once felt fragile. And most importantly, it will bring you into alignment with the version of yourself that heaven always knew you would become. Michael emphasizes that nothing you endured was wasted. Every setback shaped you. Every disappointment refined you. Every delay strengthened you. Every tear softened your spirit. Every breakthrough prepared your heart. You walked through things that others would have collapsed under. And yet, you stand not as a survivor, but as someone rising into divine purpose, and heaven honors that perseverance with this blessing. As the blessing begins to leave the chamber of light in Michael's vision, the atmosphere shifts. It feels like a wind of divine energy moving toward you, pulling threads of your past into harmony with your future. Michael speaks again with clarity. You are stepping into a season where what was once withheld is now released. What was once delayed is now accelerated. What was once protected is now delivered. Walk with faith. Walk with clarity. Walk with purpose. Because what carries your name is finally coming home. Before we close this sacred chapter, listen closely. The final revelation ahead will be the moment your blessing reaches full release. And when it does, every struggle, every tear, every battle will make sense in a way that shifts your spirit forever. Stay with this message. Type "I receive the full release" in the comments to anchor this final activation. Lesson code 1414 is now active over your destiny. Now, take a moment to like, share, comment, hype this message, and subscribe so you remain connected to every divine release that follows this one. There is a holy weight resting on this message, because just as heaven has released the blessing with your name, this mission carries a calling to awaken souls across the world. Every video, every word, every message spoken here becomes a stream of light in places where darkness has tried to settle. And when you choose to support this mission, you are not assisting a creator. You are partnering with God's work, helping this light reach others who are fighting unseen battles. The Lord says, "As you sow into my purpose, I open what was once impossible, and this word is alive for you right now. I speak to your spirit directly. Stand with this assignment. Fuel this calling, and let your support become a prophetic act that aligns your own blessing with heaven's timing. If you feel led, release your support through Super Thanks membership with a PayPal link in the description. Your obedience carries power. Your giving carries anointing. And your seed carries breakthrough. Step boldly. Heaven is watching your faith,